into the school day, and it's brought to you by Action for Healthy Kids. My name is Carol Muller. I'm one of the regional field managers at Action for Healthy Kids, and I would like to introduce our presenters today. Hannah Laughlin is our senior regional field manager for our Midwest and Northwest states, and in addition, she oversees our state team program, our work with our urban school districts, and our physical activity grants and programming. Also with us is Nick Sims. He works concurrently as our Alabama state coordinator for our granted schools and programs, and also with Safe Routes to School of Central Alabama as a community planner focused on plans and policies which encourage the development of livable, walkable communities. So Hannah and Nick will be presenting the bulk of the presentation today, but then we're very pleased to announce that later in the program we will have a special guest joining us. That's Pam Powers, who is the National Recruitment Manager for Shape America and Let's Move. So let's go over a little bit of our logistics first before we get started. Once you're linked in, you should see a control panel, which is usually on the right side of your screen. Now you can use your telephone or your speakers to listen to the presentation, but everybody will be muted to avoid static and background interference, dogs barking, doorbells ringing, that type of thing. There's also a dialog box at the bottom of the control panel. You can type questions into that box as we go along, and we will either send you an answer, type in an answer, and send it directly to you as we're going along, or we will ask the question at different stopping points during the presentation and put it out there to our speakers. And if that doesn't work or we don't have time for that, we will definitely follow up after the webinar if we don't get to the question during the course of the event. So this webinar is being recorded. Links to the recording and the handouts will be sent to you about 2 business days after the webinar. You can expect to see those in your inbox along with a comprehensive list of resources. So all the links that you'll see on the screen as we go along, you don't have to try to write those down as we go because we will send a list of all of those afterwards. Well, great. I'm going to turn it over to Hannah, and let's get started.
Thank you, Carol. Welcome to everyone, and I'd like to start today by giving you a little bit of background on Action for Healthy Kids. So Action for Healthy Kids is a national nonprofit that fights childhood obesity, undernourishment, and physical inactivity by helping schools to become healthier places. We're a network of moms, dads, teachers, students, schools, and community leaders, as well as school wellness experts who have come together to start to work towards creating healthier learning environments for children. And we believe that everyone has a part to play in our nation's childhood obesity epidemic, and that Action for Healthy Kids resources, tools, and programs can help make healthier schools a reality. We were founded in 2002 by the former Surgeon General David Satcher. Today we have more than 80,000 members, and we partner with dozens of professional agencies or government organizations and corporations at the national and local level to do the work that we do. Our presentation today is part of the wonderful Action for Healthy Kids Parent Leadership Series. Action for Healthy Kids believes that parents play a crucial role in creating healthy school communities, and we've found that school communities, which include strong parent advocates, are generally more effective at creating change and making sure that that change is sustainable and permanent. We've developed this series to provide schools as well as the parents in those schools, and I know some of you out there are just more school wellness advocates. This information is good for you as well, but we've developed this tool that you have the knowledge that you need to help make your school wellness efforts a success. So we welcome you to our webinar today, whether you are a parent or joining us in another role. On your screen, you're going to see the topics that our Parent Leadership Series covers. They've been divided into six separate webinars, which we present throughout the year. And actually, there are more than 6 webinars listed there, and I acknowledge that. We present a core of 6 webinars on an annual basis. And we always have the latest recordings of each webinar archived on our YouTube page for Action for Healthy Kids, which I'll give you more information about at the end. But for today's presentation, as you know, we're focusing in on physical activity during the school day. At Action for Healthy Kids, we like to help our members and our volunteers and supporters learn about the issues, take action in their schools, and work to transform their school cultures. So we use a three-pronged approach. And in today's webinars, our goal is that you learn, that you walk away understanding the importance of physical activity in schools and its connection to learning. We are hoping to give you the background information on physical activity in the school setting and recommendations from experts. Then we're hoping that you can take some action. You'll gather the ideas and the strategies on how to take action through what we share with you today. And as parents or school wellness champions, you can make great volunteers in this area and can take action at multiple levels. We'll cover how to get involved and how to launch a physical activity initiative at your school. And then we hope that there's a transformation. We hope that you walk away with some strategies for making your program more sustainable, because we know that program sustainability is crucial for transforming your school's culture in the long term. So we hope that you're able to walk away with all three of those steps in mind, and you're able to follow up on all three of them as you go today. Nick, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Great. Thanks, Hannah. As mentioned earlier, I'm the Alabama State Coordinator, and as background in other work, I also focused for the past few years on the relationship between the built environment and health. Specifically, I work with Safe Out School, which we'll talk about later in today's presentation. But to get things started, I just wanted to go over some of the baseline recommendations. CDC recommends 60 minutes of daily moderate to vigorous physical activity for school-age children. Experts recommend that half of this, 30 minutes a day, be provided by schools. I know statewide in Alabama, we're actually supporting a group right now to become champions and work towards that 60 minutes in school per day. The 30 minutes is really the benchmark. Research shows that physical activity has a positive impact on academic achievement. It leads to more focused classroom behaviors like concentration and memory, and it is related to improved mathematics, reading, and writing test scores. Really, physical activity is fuel for the brain, not just for the body. On this slide, take a look at what movement does for the brain. It increases learning ability, increases attentiveness, increases the level of engagement, decreases behavioral issues, and can even have an effect on absenteeism by decreasing that as well. Throughout this presentation, we'll use two terms often, physical activity and physical education. It's important to understand that these two terms are not interchangeable. Physical education is a class where students learn the benefits, skills, training principles, etc. of physical activity. For example, during a basketball unit in PE, students spend time learning the rules of the game and practicing skills specific to the sport, such as shooting or passing. If you're interested in learning about what makes up a quality PE program or advocating for daily PE in your school or district, Shape America has some great resources. A recent study published in the American Journal of Preventive Medicine found that instituting daily PE classes would boost children's moderate to vigorous physical activity by 23 minutes a day, more than 1/3 of the 60 minutes needed to meet the CDC guidelines. Today, we're not going to focus on PE, though. We're going to talk about physical activity. Physical activity is anything that gets your body moving, so it could be walking, biking, sports, dance, even routine chores, such as housekeeping, etc., mowing the lawn. There's numerous examples. In addition to PE classes, schools can provide physical activity time at recess, with fitness breaks throughout the school day, through classroom learning that incorporates physical activity, through before or after school programming, field trips that include physical activity, and by establishing programs like the one I work with, Safe Routes to School. So if you're a parent and you want to get involved, where do you start? A great way to start is by researching state and local laws and policies related to physical activity and request information about how your school or district is implementing them. Some states have requirements for the amount of PE in schools. Others have requirements for physical activity. So it's important to be sure and make that distinction and find the requirement. If laws don't exist or aren't strong enough, contact your legislators and let them know that you care about physical activity in schools and that they should care too. Note that even if these laws do not exist, or if they do exist in your state, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're being enforced. So try to ask questions at your school regarding wellness policy implementation relating to physical activity. To learn about your state's requirement for PE and your physical activity profile, check out the Shape of the Nation report entitled Status of Physical Education in the U.S., conducted by Shape America and the American Heart Institute. So this and other links will be available to you at the end of the presentation. Just as an FYI, that will be sent out later. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Hannah.
Thank you, Nick. So I just wanted to reinforce, like Nick just said, here in Illinois, where our Action for Healthy Kids national headquarters is, our state laws around physical education are really strong. We have a daily physical education requirement. And we're also often congratulated across the country as being a state that has one of the strongest policies. However, in reality, we have a waiver system. So the vast majority of schools here in Illinois do not have daily PE. So it's really important to understand not only what your legislation is, as Nick was saying, but also how it is enforced and implemented. Another way to get involved is to attend a school board meeting or an accountability committee or your school wellness team meeting to express that you support and advocate for physical activity. Let someone know at the local level in your district that you care and that you are willing to help and support. Become familiar with your school or district wellness policy. Every district in the country is required to have a local school wellness policy, so figure out what yours says. What specifically does it say around physical activity and or physical education? What recommendations from national experts are or are not included? Are your school's practices actually aligning with that policy? Are physical activity efforts being assessed or tracked? And if physical activity is not currently part of your policy, what would it take to add it? It's also good to look into adding physical activity goals to your school's improvement plan, so not at the district level, but at the school level, because oftentimes these school improvement plans are where progress is really more likely to be tracked and reviewed on a yearly basis. Here is an example of an item that should be addressed in a wellness policy. Physical activity should not be given out to students as punishment for misbehavior. So we don't want students who are acting out to have to run a lap at recess. We don't want to make physical activity a punishment. And we also don't want physical activity to be withheld from students as punishment or to make up for tests and homework. Oftentimes, students that are behind get held in from recess to catch up on their work, which is really counterintuitive to what the research says. That oftentimes these are the students that need that recess to get that energy out as much as possible. So these are some really good sample policy items to look for. Let's Move Active Schools, as we're going to hear a lot more about later from Pam, is a wonderful resource for increasing physical activity in schools. It's a comprehensive program that empowers PE teachers, classroom teachers, principals, administrators, and parents to create active environments that enable all students to get moving and reach their full potential. After signing up, school champions are guided through a simple 6-step process that helps schools build a team and make a plan for physical activity in their building, and Let's Move also provides in-person trainings, program materials, grants, and certified professionals just like Pam to help your school. And Let's Move is a collaborative effort between lots of Action for Healthy Kids national partners, including Shape America, which was formerly AFHK, the Alliance for a Healthier Generation, the President's Council on Fitness, Sports, and Nutrition, and then there's also support from the U.S. Departments of Health and Human Services and the U.S. Department of Education. So I'm really looking forward to learning more about that program as Pam joins us later. Once you understand the laws, policies, and guidelines in your state and kind of the national recommendations on school physical activity, you can decide to launch a physical activity initiative. And we really can't emphasize enough how important it is to start with the support of your principal first and foremost, and then your other school leaders, superintendents, teachers, students, and other parents and community members that are important to your school. If you are working with middle and high school students, there are some other things that you also should consider. As students age, the length of their classes tend to increase, with opportunities for physical activity during the day tending to decrease. Recess may not be offered at this age level, and physical activity during free periods may not be encouraged. And in general, just fewer students are enrolled in PE, which is often related back to that state legislation. In some schools, students aren't even required to take PE to graduate. So finding a way to engage middle and high school students in physical activity throughout the school day can be a big challenge. What we would recommend that you do is make physical activity relevant, important, and valuable for teenagers and requires their involvement and their leadership to get them on board. The suggestions on this slide are good for kids of all ages, but they're particularly important to keep in mind for those older secondary students. We recommend that you engage students to create, plan, and lead their own physical activity initiatives. It's really key for their buy-in, for their participation, and for their success. It's also great at this age group to use humor to engage their interest and participation. And then also very important to make sure that activities are fun, interesting, and challenging. Some students are really going to benefit, are really going to thrive if you show them the benefits of physical activity. So tell them how movement throughout the day will help them feel better and be more alert, and show them that physical activity and fitness can kind of change their life perspective, and show them how they can apply it to their world. It's also really important to make sure that any physical activity program that you're getting ready to launch, that you have considered making sure that your program is inclusive. So all children are entitled to quality physical education and physical activity opportunities. Special consideration should be given to those with particular physical activity needs or who are at risk for sedentary lifestyle. So especially those children with chronic illnesses, physical and other disabilities, as well as those who are overweight. Make sure that your recess, your fitness breaks, before and after school clubs, and all physical activity programs are inclusive, but children with special needs and typically developing children can participate side by side. Assess the ability and needs of your students. Some may require few adaptations, while others may require substantial assistance from peer helpers or adults. Most activities can be modified or adapted to make sure that all students can join in and experience the benefits. And the Action for Healthy Kids Game On program has special instructions on inclusivity and how to engage children across the board, and we do recommend that you check those out. You'll see listed on this screen, there's also some other resources that we can share, and they're all great resources for making your program inclusive. So do make sure that you check out these links in the webinar handout that follows so that you can make sure that you're considering inclusivity as well as those special considerations for children in the secondary schools as well. Nick, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thanks. So now with an overview of recommendations and general involvement, let's dig a little bit deeper and discuss specific initiatives. So starting with that, let's talk about recess. The quote in the slide is from the State of Play, which was published by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. Class size, standardized testing, the 3 R's. When most people talk about how to improve education, they tend to focus only on what happens in the classroom. But the most unexpected opportunity to boost learning lies outside the classroom, on the playground, at recess. Shape America recommends that schools provide 20 minutes of recess per day, yet up to 40% of U.S. school districts have reduced or eliminated recess in order to free up more time for core academics. Actually, now 1 in 4 elementary schools no longer provide recess to all grades. Contrastingly, research shows that recess helps students to focus and learn better. So we actually know now that scaling back recess comes at a cost to learning. So here's what the call to action. What can parents do? Well, I'm a parent myself, and we're our own best advocates for our kids at school. So we can advocate for more recess. If your school does not offer recess or does not meet the recommended 20 minutes a day, then parents can start a campaign to bring it back or extend it. Also, as Hannah referenced, we need to pay attention to situations such as whether or not our schools withhold recess as a form of discipline. Often by restricting that physical activity via a form of punishment, schools could actually be prohibiting the stimulation students need to concentrate and behave better. So we can advocate for better recess as well as more recess. We can push for basic elements of an effective recess program such as number 1, and that's train adults on hand to enforce safety rules and prevent aggressive behavior, particularly bullying behavior. Looking at the information in the box to the left, kids who are overweight are actually more likely to be bullied, and being bullied in turn leads to even greater physical and emotional problems. Looking at the second bullet, enough space, facilities, and equipment. More students are active when there are shorter lines waiting to be next. For example, when I coach soccer or basketball, kids improve skills and enjoy practice more when each has their own ball to use, and they get to move more when there's less time spent waiting in line. So having enough space and equipment is really critical to students being active. Finally, it's important to have an environment that's physically safe. Maybe it's time to refurbish the school's playground or look at other ways to improve the overall physical environment to promote activity. You can also lead a campaign for active recess. This is also known as structured recess. It's a planned and actively supervised recess where students engage in organized play or games that emphasize turn-taking, helpfulness, rule following, and emotional control. Each game or activity has preset rules by which the entire school population abides. Sometimes older students are trained to help lead activities for younger students. The benefits of active recess include reduced bullying, better behavior, and easier transitions from recess to learning. The goal is to get all students moving and engaged. Whether inside or out, it is key to make sure the space is conducive for activity. The photo on the bottom left of this slide shows volunteers fixing up an indoor fitness room at a school in Chicago. Providing a space for active indoor games and activities for inclement weather days is a great way to ensure physical activity every day. Staffing can be another major barrier to implementing structured recess. This is again where parents have a call to action. Parents can volunteer to lead activities and supervise at recess. The schools are never short on a need for volunteers, and this is definitely an area that is no different. Just don't be afraid to ask the school if they need the help. And if you're helping start something new, make sure that parent volunteers receive training either from school staff or other experts in the field to properly coordinate the activity. Another option to be creative in recess is advocate for recess before lunch. It's also called recess reversal. Kids tend to eat a better lunch if they've already had their time on the playground. This also leads to less waste, better behavior, and performance. Although some schools resist implementing this due to logistical challenges associated with changing their schedules, many are now doing it very successfully and reaping lots of benefits. So next, let's take a look at some success stories from recess innovations at elementary, middle school, and high school. With funding from Ohio Action for Healthy Kids and Fuel Up to Play 60, the Wellness Committee at Millersburg Elementary, led by parent Heidi Barbie, implemented the Nights on the Move program to promote more recess activity. During recess, students walk or run laps around the playground to earn a punch on their Nights on the Move card. They earn various tokens when they reach certain milestones, and each Monday morning, the biggest mover of the week is announced to the whole school. At the end of the year, the biggest mover from each grade earns a gift card and a new pair of shoes. Just to give you an idea of the effectiveness and success of the program, in the first 4 weeks alone, students traveled over 2,000 miles. So it really is a great way to just provide some structure, and the results just begin producing really and multiply in regards to physical activity. Moving on to talk about recess for secondary students, middle schoolers at AFHK Middle School in North Carolina have 12-minute mini recess after lunch called Blacktop Time. With these particular middle schoolers, they feel they've outgrown recess and associate the term recess with elementary school. The PTA painted the blacktop to mark out various activities in order to inspire more movement during this 12 minutes of activity time. Adults are also around to encourage participation. So again, it's partially being creative with the structure and the physical environment, but also sometimes getting creative with the terminology to encourage participation. Then, looking at the second example on the slide from the high school, Panther Creek High School in North Carolina, they implemented something they call Smart Lunch. Smart Lunch is an extended single lunch period where students spend half their time eating lunch and half their time participating in a variety of activities, including rotating sports activities that are set up in the gym. Other options include dance, Wii Fit, yoga, Pilates, Taibo, or even exercise videos. Looking at recess resources on the next slide, these three organizations are great resources for recess initiatives. I've got my 4 R's going now. So looking at the first one, Kaboom, it's a national nonprofit that provides playground grants as well as trainings on how to revamp your playground, step-by-step project planners, and how to raise funds to get it done. We actually had a success this past year with a Kaboom grant at nearby Hemphill Elementary, and it was a really great experience that involved the entire community on the build day and resulted in a new playground that's not only there for the school, but the entire community, where thousands of kids will now have access to a safe play space that wasn't previously there. Peaceful Playground is another resource. They have playground blueprints, stencil sets, activity guides, and provide fundraising support. Finally, Playworks also has a comprehensive program that they run for schools with higher rates of free and reduced lunch. They offer trainings and an online playbook with hundreds of games that you can download free of charge. So now moving on to the next initiative, I'll turn it back over to Hannah to talk about brain breaks.
Awesome. Thank you, Nick. So let's focus on fitness breaks or brain breaks. A lot of people are not using that terminology anymore, so we will get to that in a minute. But fitness breaks activate the brain, improve on-task behavior, and leave students more focused and ready to learn for their academic activities. They can be as simple as a teacher or even a student leading a round of jumping jacks or stretches, or can be more complex. There are lots of fun and creative ways to include classroom activity breaks in the daily schedule, and there are lots of resources to help schools do that. And parents particularly can make a difference by sharing these resources with teachers and administrators and talking to them about the importance of movement in the classroom as part of a comprehensive school physical activity plan. So you might want to start by approaching individual teachers who you think would be interested in this idea and help build some momentum and bring hesitant teachers and administrators on board after they see the success that the program is happening afterwards. Let's review a couple of the resources that are out there. Instant Recess is one that we particularly love from our former board member, Tony Yancey, and it is available in a book and DVD format. And Instant Recess is mostly composed of basic movements that the average American can easily perform, but much of its appeal lies in the incorporation of sports and dance techniques. There are routines that borrow from cultural dance techniques from all over the world. And one of the videos that we love is the Native American tribal dance, which incorporates a 10-minute workout while learning some history and having some cultural enthusiasm. So the term brain breaks is used to show quick exercises that can be done in it and last a minute or more. And some are specifically designed to cross the body's midline, which helps engage both sides of the brain. There are lots of programs out there about brain breaks. Some good examples include Brain Gym, Energizing Brain Breaks, and Just a Minute, also known as JAM. Breathing, stretching, and short yoga exercises have also been shown to have many benefits to kids in school. They help calm and clear the mind, relieve tension and stress, and increase concentration, focus, and attention span. There are lots of yoga resources out there, and some of which have some national reach, and you'll see in the follow-up email. But you probably also have lots of local programs that could help you with yoga in your schools as well. Physical activity can be linked to specific academic content, so a lot of teachers have their kids practicing spelling words and vocabulary while walking around the room, or you can play a game of charades based on topics that the class is studying. Gets kids moving and learning at the same time. Here are some more ideas. Ask your school staff to incorporate fitness alarms. Much like a fire drill, ringing the bell or ringing the bell, you can have the whole school drop everything and do a fitness break. Ask your teachers to take walk and talk breaks. Have them take the class for a walk and have them discuss the lesson or do a lap around the outside of the classroom to talk one-on-one with students about their work. Or you can ask the PE teacher and other school staff to lead fitness breaks during the morning announcements. So while you're sharing the information that you need to, ask the whole school to get up and do something together. It's a fun way to build camaraderie and get kids moving. Some other key tips for success is music is a really powerful tool. It can be used to get kids moving more in the classroom, in the hallways, during transitions, and during lunches. You can use music and music videos that are appealing to the age group you are targeting and really have some fun with it. Adults are really important in these brain break initiatives. It's really important for adults to model enthusiasm for physical activity by participating in the breaks with their students. In order to do this, you can demonstrate certain physical activities during staff meetings to get staff more comfortable before they do it in front of students. But oftentimes, if you're going to demonstrate these activities, it's best to try one at a time instead of giving teachers a whole stack of ideas, because it might overwhelm them and they might be less likely to use them. It's fun to start a video library at your school that classrooms can use to gather ideas, and you can add your students, your teachers, or your parents' favorite resources to that library and encourage teachers to check them out. Make sure that you're always conscious in modifying activities so that all students can participate, whatever their fitness level or their special needs. We do want to make sure that they have the opportunity to participate as well. And when you're working with middle and high school students, again, there are some things that you should think about. You can try implementing fitness breaks during homeroom or an advisory period if it's hard to nail them down due to scheduling. Start slowly, have patience, and be persistent like all things that you do with teenagers. It may take them longer to come around to the idea, but once they're on board with it, they can be your biggest advocates. And very importantly, make sure that you involve these students in creating, planning, and leading their own exercise and activity breaks. I want to share a quick success story from South Lakewood Elementary in Colorado, and our parent advocate, Shannon Ratliff. She added brain breaks to her school because she felt like it should be a more routine part of the day because she'd read the research on how brain breaks improve retention and memory. With a grant from Colorado Action for Healthy Kids, Shannon was able to provide each teacher in her school with a box of props, laminated brain break cards, and a smartboard application that she was able to provide a training class to teachers on to get them started. And then she watched as her teachers implemented the program and helped them track their progress. She also gave them incentives for reaching their goal. And she found that the teachers had a great time, which resulted in the students having a great time and the initiative being very successful. You can see in this picture, Shannon is teaching her teachers the Rochambeau version of rock, paper, scissors, which is one of our favorite brain breaks at Action for Healthy Kids. I'm going to turn it over now to Pam to tell us about Let's Move Active Schools. Pam Powers is the National Recruitment Manager for Shape America and Let's Move Active Schools. She's been a great partner to us here at Action for Healthy Kids to help share the research and share the message and the resources about how active kids learn better. So Pam, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about the exciting Let's Move initiative.
Thank you, Hannah. And boy, I tell you, both Hannah and Nick shared some great ideas and some great suggestions today. And I'm going to just take a few minutes and tell you about a great way to tie all of the things in that they just spoke about into Let's Move Active Schools and how this could really support your schools in such a fabulous way with all of the things that they just spoke about. So Let's Move Active Schools is the initiative that has the idea to get schools moving 60 minutes a day, whether it's before school, after school, or during school. And when I talk about 60 minutes, I'm not just speaking to physical education, as both Hannah and Nick mentioned, but also we're talking about physical activity. We're not saying just at one certain time, but we want it to happen throughout the day. So we want this to happen during the classroom. We want to have breaks happening, and we want this to add and enhance physical education. We know that youth spend a significant amount of time in school each day, and so what we do realize is that teachers are well positioned to really help kids to really understand more about physical education and physical activity and the benefits, and it's critical that we work together to build this and develop a much more active community. So we really want to incorporate this throughout the day at school and give them this feeling of how important it is to move throughout their lifetime. So let's look at the initiative itself. Let's Move Active Schools is the physical activity and physical education solution, looking to ensure 60 minutes of physical activity really becomes the new norm for schools. The idea that physical education and physical activity added together, as I mentioned before, is going to help to provide this. And you know, the number is not just an arbitrary number. This is research-based, and as you looked at the sightings that both Hannah and Nick used, we're going to talk about that in just a moment, but all of these credible resources that have come up and the research behind it all says that if kids move around 60 minutes a day, they are going to have a healthy mind and a healthy body. So this initiative came forward from the First Lady's initiative. You may have heard of it, called Let's Move. And Let's Move Active Schools is the physical activity branch of this. It's a national movement helping schools to develop a culture in which physical activity and physical education are really the foundation to academic success. And when you look at this, Let's Move is making this simple for teachers and strategic for administrators. It does a couple of things for them. It's going to streamline the selection of programs, resources, and professional development along with grants. So once a school signs up, they have an opportunity to look at hundreds of resources. When a school signs up, they go in and they do a simple assessment that's actually guided by the School Health Index through the CDC. Depending on their grade level, it's 9 to 11 questions. And then once they complete that, it actually develops an action plan for them. And whatever they've answered that may need some assistance, it actually guides them to certain resources and says, these could be really helpful for you to get you on your way to what you need at your school. And so through that, the other opportunity for schools are grants. And these grants have opened up and said, if you are a Let's Move Active School, we'll give you a priority grant point on your grant as you complete the application, which is really great. If any of you have tried or worked to complete a grant, you know that that is a huge benefit. As I mentioned a little while ago too, with the customized action plan, it actually tailors it to fit exactly what the school needs. So it's really individualized. As both Hannah and Nick were mentioning before, they cited a number of different articles and research and resources that came from a number of the people you see on this slide. These are the collaborators that came together, and these are a number of leading health and education organizations that really came together to offer schools and districts the latest and the greatest of research and best practices and strategies that really will capitalize on what is going to be best for schools looking for what is going to help them to create this active classroom and really help raise awareness of how physical activity will really improve that academic performance. And this slide has changed over time as I've been working with Let's Move Active Schools. As you look towards the center, you see the President's Council, and it's aligned and oversees Shape America along with the Alliance for a Healthier Generation. And you see our partner there along with Action for Healthy Kids, along with many others that are there that we all work together and we've been collaborating, and it really has been a fabulous effort to work on what's best for kids. So as Hannah was mentioning before about Let's Move Active Schools, it's a step-by-step process, and really what's been great this year is we have tailored it down to make it even a little more simplistic for schools to look at. So what you do is you really go in and you look and you evaluate your school with the assessment tool. How is the school doing already? How is the moving, and how is the process so far? When you look at the assessment tool with those questions, what are you doing in regard to physical education and student wellness? Once you've done that, you have the action plan and you get ready to activate it. You get ready to take your steps. After that, you have the chance to celebrate. So if everything looks great, you can go forward and you can apply for national recognition. This year we opened the recognition up in November. We opened it up earlier than the year before, and it will close April 15th. If you have things you work on, you can work towards the recognition, and then you provide what's called evidence of what you have done, and then you apply for the recognition. So it really is designed to make it as simplistic for teachers to do step by step with their wellness committee or their active school team to do the process. As you can see, this really is based on a group working together to make this all about comprehensive school physical activity. And this is based on the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's comprehensive school physical activity. Everybody plays a role in this. So whether you are a parent who is supporting, whether you are a teacher, whether you are a classroom teacher, a physical educator, everybody plays a role in those 60 minutes a day to make this really come together. Maybe you are a community partner, but everybody can help to bring this together. Excuse me. And so what we're looking at is all of these partners together collaborating, working together to create this active school environment with the 60 minutes a day. So the next step is to get our kids moving again and help them reach their greatest potential by having schools sign up. And by doing that, you just go to letsmoveschools.org and sign up. You can sign up as a parent, you can sign up as a community member, or you can sign up to be one of the leaders or champions. All it takes is one inspirational person at a school. And I'm going to turn it over now to, I believe Carol is going to see if there's any questions.
Thanks so much, Pam. We don't have any questions yet, and we certainly encourage everybody to take a look at your dialog box and type in any questions that you might have so we can take some time at the end of the presentation if there's still available time, and we'll get them answered then. So turn back to Hannah to get going again.
Thank you so much, Pam and Carol. We will hopefully have some questions for later on. So we're going to turn over and start looking at before and after school activities now. And schools can increase students' daily physical activity levels by incorporating activity into kind of that out of school time where students, it's not during the school day, but students are still in the building. You know, we can think about that through sports clubs, walk or bike to school programs. There's lots of options, and parents can make a really big impact on these after-school programs and help to organize this sort of activity. The National After-School Association recommends that programs devote at least 20% or 30 minutes of their before and after-school program time to physical activity that includes both strengthening and aerobic activities. If your school has a before or after-school program and it's not meeting these standards, you can talk to the program director to add more activities to the program. And there's lots of local resources in your area probably that can help you do that, including your local YMCA, Boys and Girls Club. So do look around your local community for ways to help. Schools can also offer opportunities for activities through intramural sports clubs and initiatives that promote physical activity. You can start a walking or a running club. You can make it simple and ask the principal, teachers, or other known kind of local celebrities to lead students on a morning walk on a regular basis. There's lots of programs out here. You see some examples on the screen that can help you with a walking or running program in your school. Running and walking are only a few of your options, though. You can start an exercise club focused on kind of whatever physical activity you like. Volleyball, karate, yoga, jumping rope. The possibilities are really endless. So figure out what you and your students like and start a club. Find a community member that can help, someone who has a skill and would like to volunteer their time. Why not ask a community bicycle club member to come teach students at your school about bike safety and then host a bike rally once a month? You can also ask your school if they could open their gym during non-school hours to get kids moving. See who stays around and line students up and get them active with fun and easy exercises. Or bring in an established program. There's all kinds of programs like yoga, Zumba, martial arts that are probably in your community that could come in and help you get kids moving before and after school. Some tips for success for intramural programs are that participation in these activities and events should be voluntary. Don't make anyone participate that doesn't want to. Every student should have an equal opportunity to participate regardless of ability. Inclusive is key, as we've said a couple of times. Survey your students to find out what activities they're interested in and involve them in the planning. It does nobody any good if you start a club that no students come to. Promote the activities that you have in your schools through family flyers, newsletters, and websites to get the word out. And review your district's wellness policy and the other policies that might affect supervision of these sort of activities or facility maintenance, and make sure that your initiatives are meeting the guidelines. We've talked about teenagers a little bit already at this point, but let's specifically talk about teenage girls for a little bit because they are generally less active than teenage boys of the same age. And there are some common barriers to teenage girls that are worth considering. Physical inactivity for teenage girls, if it's role modeled by their parents, is a hard thing for them to overcome. They also might have a lack of energy due to their lack of physical fitness. They might not have a whole lot of peer role modeling. They might not have friends who play sports or exercise regularly. And even if they do, they might attribute a lack of skills to themselves. They might have a fear of looking silly or clumsy or being teased. And some teenage girls are just generally embarrassed about wearing workout clothes. So organizing girls only before and after school activities or clubs can be a way to overcome some of these activities and give teenage girls some empowerment. Something to consider. It's also important to consider, is your school open to the community? So many neighborhoods across the United States lack safe playgrounds, open spaces, and equipment for physical activity. Schools are places that have fields, have gyms, have playgrounds that offer direct access to physical activity spaces and increase opportunities for play and socialization. So make sure you're working with your administrators, your school boards, and your insurance agents to see if it's possible to have your school open during non-school hours for the community to use it for physical activity. You can also partner with your local Parks and Rec department, YMCA, and other programs that offer programming around physical activity, and make sure that your school community knows when those programs are available and upcoming to encourage everyone in your school, in your surrounding community, to get out, and get active. Another great way to do that is through walk and bike to school initiatives, which Nick is going to tell you more about as he is the expert in that.
Thanks. Yeah. It is definitely my favorite part, so let's talk about walking and biking to school. In 1969, approximately 48% of children walked or biked to school. But as you see, that number has significantly dropped, and now that number is closer to 13%. It's also interesting to look at this during a similar time frame as this decrease in physical activity. The obesity rate and occurrence of related chronic diseases in our country have dramatically increased. Safe Routes to School is a movement to create safe, convenient, and fun opportunities for students to walk and bike to school. And also, it currently supports behavioral and environmental changes to create a healthier community. A school-based program of Safe Routes can educate and encourage students to walk to school more, and also it can work with the local roads department to improve infrastructure to be more conducive for walking and biking. The Safe Routes to School initiative strives to accomplish several objectives, including increased physical activity, increased safety, traffic mitigation, and improved air quality near the school site. So this Safe Routes to School initiative and Walk to, and Bike to School days is an area where parents can have a big impact. And really that's largely because you're really asking schools to promote something before or after school. It doesn't impact that classroom time. One example is to start a walking school bus or bicycle train. A walking school bus is simply a group of students walking to school with one or more adult bus drivers. The routes function like bus routes, but students are walking instead of riding. It can be informal, such as two families taking turns walking their children to school, or you can create a more formal walking school bus program with structured routes, with meeting points at a certain time, and regularly rotated schedule of trained volunteers. A variation of the walking school bus program is to have a bicycle train where adults provide similar support, but they're supervising children riding their bikes instead of just walking to school. As far as ways to build the initiative overall at your school, here's a few examples. To get started, to increase awareness in your community, you can organize your school's participation in a national walk or bike to school day event. Walk to School Day is held annually in October, and Bike to School Day is held in May. If that goes well and the support is there, you can start an ongoing walk or bike to school program. Program elements could include teaching pedestrian and bicycle education, implementing programs such as the walking school bus or bicycle trains, and also elements have a great impact to empower neighborhoods and local agencies to work together to identify and create safe routes to school. Another good idea is to partner with the local police to enforce speeds in and around the neighborhood and place crossing guards near dangerous intersections and crossing. The CDC has excellent fact sheets and guides online through a resource called Kids Walk. And then also I would refer you to two great organizations that work with walk and bike to school events, the National Center for Safe Routes to School and the Safe Routes to School National Partnership. All three websites really have great support to make walking and biking to school a safe and routine activity in your community. Speaking of online resources, Action for Healthy Kids has online resources via Game On, the Ultimate Wellness Challenge. And Norwich Elementary in Hilliard, Ohio, actually use it as a way to frame all their nutrition and physical activity initiatives under one wellness umbrella and give it more power. For their before and after school challenges, Norwich encouraged kids to walk to school, and for those who live too far away, they designed a drop-off point 1 mile from school. This resulted in the establishment of 10 walking school buses so kids could walk together on the days of their choosing. Now that they've started the program, the school involved mentioned that it would be hard to stop because the kids love the program so much. And locally, working with Safe Routes to School, we've experienced similar results. As soon as you start a walking school bus program, the kids love to start the day by meeting up for the walking school bus so much that they look forward to it every day. It's just a great way to start the day with physical activity. Before we move on, I'd like to point out that school celebrations, rewards, fundraisers, and events provide numerous opportunities throughout the school day to support and promote physical activity. It is important to shift these from being food-centered and let students and families know that physical activity is valued and supported by those who coordinate these type of activities. Host a family fun night devoted to recreation and physical fitness, and when it's holiday time, move the treats, turn on the music, and host a dance party instead. It's important to get creative and be a consistent wellness champion. For more ideas, check out the Parent Toolkit online at the Action for Healthy Kids website for tip sheets and resources on non-food rewards and incentives. So I will turn it back over to Hannah one more time so she can talk about sustainability.
Awesome. Thank you, Nick. So before we wrap up today, we want to discuss the issue of sustainability. what can you do to ensure that your physical activity initiative really takes hold and becomes a part of your school's permanent culture? Work hard to make sure that your projects are endorsed by not only you, not only the teachers, but also by your principals, supported by all staff, and there are other parents involved in the planning and implementation. We've talked about this some already, but you can't emphasize it enough. Make sure that your physical activity practices and goals are written into your wellness policy, and that your school's improvement plans are also including language about physical activity to help you stay on track and keep attention focused on students' health. We know that healthy students learn better, so we want to make sure that every student is healthy enough to learn at the best of their ability. Be sure to include teachers, school staff, and students in the conversations as you develop policies, since they're the ones that will be enforcing the policy, and their buy-in is extremely important. When you group your school wellness initiatives all together under one school health or school wellness umbrella, you increase your chances of sustainability. So individual projects tend to have more impact if they're part of a larger ongoing initiative. Establish a school wellness or health committee and use it to drive and promote the initiatives. It's a great way to start. So using a tested framework like Action for Healthy Kids Game On program is one way to accomplish this. This is a free program, and you can tailor it to your school's own particular needs and make your school wellness program a success. We have this great school wellness blueprint that you can click on any of these areas of your school building and get ideas for how to not only increase physical activity but also increase good nutrition. And it's a great resource to use as you're trying to kind of navigate the waters of school wellness and everything that it includes. Make sure that you link up with other community efforts that will help both with your programming and funding your programming. There are often local grant opportunities, so make sure that you research what's going on in your community and brainstorm potential partners for your schools, including local gyms, doctors, health foundations, and nonprofits. And who doesn't like to be recognized? The Healthier U.S. Schools Challenge is the USDA's voluntary certification initiative that was created to recognize schools for the promotion of physical activity and nutrition. It's an award program that schools work on different initiatives related to nutrition and physical activity and are given bronze, silver, and gold achievement, and sometimes there's also monetary awards for reaching different levels. So make sure you encourage your school administrators and your wellness team to work towards the criteria for this award or another certification program like it. The process of evaluating your school's overall school wellness environment, including the physical activity efforts that you're working on, can really serve as a catalyst for new initiatives, and the recognition that you will receive as a health certifying school is always something to be celebrated and can also help with the momentum of your other initiatives as well. Action for Healthy Kids Learning Connection Report is a great resource to help you make the connection between physical activity, healthy eating, and learning. It's an easy-to-read report that it summarizes the most recent research on proving that healthy kids are better learners. So it's a great resource to use with other parents in your communities, your principals, your teachers, to really help them understand why in the academic environment, thinking about health is important. Parents, teachers, students, school leaders, and community members can all make lasting impacts when they combine efforts. The key to providing children with consistent messages around health, nutrition, and physical activity is working together. We have this wonderful Share Healthy Foods and Activities at School PowerPoint presentation that you can download directly off of our website and use it to share with your audience. It has many of the same slides that were used in today's webinar, and you can use it to challenge your school community to make healthy changes. And it's a great way to just kind of sell school wellness to your community. It's kind of like School Wellness 101 to bring people on board. We also have lots of tip sheets that are useful to you, including information on recess, fitness breaks, before and after school programming, and they will be included in the follow-up email on this webinar so that you can look into those. We also have some do-it-yourself mini webinars on our YouTube page that will be listed in that as well, that are between 5 and 10 minutes and give you quick, short ideas. I'm quickly going to show you some resources. I'm just going to flash them up on these screens. They will be included in the follow-up email, but there are lots of programs and national resources out there to help you with the work that you're doing. So we hope that we've gone a long way towards meeting your goals of the signing up for the webinar today. We hope that you have a better understanding of the importance of physical activity and its connection to learning, and how you can share that connection with others to help build support for your physical activity initiatives and your general school wellness initiatives. We hope that you've collected plenty of ideas and strategies on how to take action at the school level, at the district level, and even at the state policy level, and that you've learned some strategies for incorporating programmatic sustainability into your physical activity initiatives so that they can last longer than maybe your students are in school, and you can benefit the school culture for years to come. So I'm now going to open it up. Carol, do we have any questions that we can answer to bring this back to our listeners?
Yes, we do. We have a couple of questions. The first one is, and I'm going to throw this one to Pam first if she's still with us, although I would like to hear from Hannah and Nick too if you have any ideas. How do we make sure to encourage and protect unstructured physical activity and play, which is at the center of the definition of recess by the American Academy of Pediatrics? Pam?
Wow, that's a great question. Well, you know, the best way to do that is to have good supervision, and that is the ultimate, is that you, and when I say good supervision, so, you know, at recess time you have the appropriate number of people out supervising children. You know, the right number of teacher-to-children ratio is number one, and so that's going to be one of your first and foremost things to make sure that, you know, children are safe, and then also you know, safe places to play and enough open space for the children. Oftentimes that is you know, more of a luxury than actually having the capability, because I know space is limited, but helping kids to understand sometimes what they can do for unstructured play within a limited space is somewhat a guidance that you have to do as well. But the first step to take really is to is the management part of it, really.
Great. Hannah, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I agree, and I just want to add that you know, unstructured play is really important, but in some environments it's maybe just not their most realistic thing if you don't have that supervision or that safe place to play. And sometimes those structured recess programs are really fantastic in their own right as well. So I think it really comes down to, you know, your situation at your school. We want kids to get out and get moving and have recess time, period, you know, if it's structured or unstructured. So it just kind of depends what fits your school's needs, and as long as kids are getting out and getting active and that recess is provided, then thinking about that school culture is kind of the most important step in deciding how that play actually happens.
You know, I'll add one thing to what Hannah's saying too, because, you know, she's right in a lot of ways where you don't have that opportunity for the, and you have to have something more structured. You know, where you see really good physical education in a school, oftentimes you'll see kids in unstructured play at recess imitating what they did in physical education. And so it becomes unstructured play, but they're doing it on their own, and they're moving because they enjoyed what they were learning and what they did, and they imitate it. And so that's one of the best things you could see.
Great, great, thank you. Another question related to, Hannah, what you brought up earlier in the presentation on waivers. Can you describe a little bit more what you were talking about how some schools give out waivers for PE and what one could do about that?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a couple of different waivers so that you can talk about. The first is, you know, like I said, related to state legislation. So here in Illinois, as I mentioned, we have a state legislation that requires daily physical education. And just because of scheduling issues and schools' capacity, sometimes the district itself will kind of waive out of that state legislation. So, for example, Chicago Public Schools has not had daily physical education over the last, you know, the majority of the last couple of years, just because from a capacity standpoint in their teaching pool and also a space issue in their schools, they weren't able to make sure that every student K-12 had daily PE. They actually did not reinitiate their waiver from the state, and this year, for the first time in a long time, is the first school year that students in Chicago are having daily physical education. It's going to be a slow process. It's going to take 3 years to get to full capacity of daily physical education. But like I said, there is an opportunity for school districts to say we just can't meet this requirement and to get a waiver from the state. In addition, for specific students, sometimes in school districts, if they are, you know, in a gifted program, or they are taking a lot of AP classes, or maybe they are in a sport or in marching band or in a dance class, they can sometimes waiver out of the traditional PE program if they are deemed to be either not able to graduate on time because of you know, that requirement, or if they're deemed to be getting physical education or physical activity elsewhere. That's not something that we particularly encourage. We would like to see every student in physical activity regardless of their sports career or their, you know, marching band or their dance classes, because, you know, PE is hopefully teaching lifetime fitness that are different skills than what they're learning there. And for, you know, those students that say they can't have it for graduation, really, when you look at the health and learning research, it still would be beneficial to them to get it. So there's a couple of different waiver options out there. But in general, our message would be that the best option is to have your kids in physical education and not go for those waivers.
Great. Yeah, that's great. I'm very familiar with those waivers in our district, and it's a very good thing for the District Wellness Committee to work on, really being kind of strict about who gets those and who doesn't on a personal level. So thank you very much for that clarification. And I'd like to thank all of our presenters today. We really appreciate your time. I'd like to just mention briefly some other resources we have. We'd love for you to stay up to date on our success stories, health tips at Action for Healthy Kids, our physical activity games, fun recipes. We've got volunteer opportunities, and of course lots more ideas for action, not just with physical activity, but in all the other topics of our parent leadership and other educational series. And you can find all of those on Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, Flickr, and YouTube, and we hope that you'll check all those out. And that does conclude our webinar today. Like I've said, we will be sending out a follow-up email in 2 to 3 business days with a link to the recording, all the resources and other handouts that are pertinent to what we talked about today. And it will also include a registration link for the next webinar in the series. If you would like to learn more about Action for Healthy Kids and how you can get involved with our mission and our movement, we encourage you to take the Every Kid Healthy Pledge on our website and help us to create a 100,000-person movement to make all schools healthier places. It takes just 10 seconds to take the pledge, and once you've signed on, we will show you ways, big and small, that you can turn your commitment into action. So thanks again for taking the time today to participate in the webinar with us. Hope you have a great day, and we'll see you next time.